Welcome to Art Ed Radio. We are taking a break for a couple of weeks, and during these weeks, we will be replaying some great episodes from earlier in 2021. If you are looking for other new content, I would recommend taking a look at Instagram Live. Sarah Krajewski does some incredible interviews with artists, educators, and other creatives that are insightful and really entertaining. You can find those interviews either on AOEU's Instagram feed or on AOEU's YouTube page. You can also find the Art of SEL podcast wherever you get your podcasts. This incredible mini-series from Jonathan Jurovich came out earlier this year, and the 8 episodes give you an in-depth look at social emotional learning in the art room. And, of course, if you just want to stick around and listen, here is an excellent episode for you. All right, so a few weeks back, I recorded an episode with Jordan DeWild all about his new book, 30-Minute Drawing for Beginners, which is a #1 bestseller on Amazon, by the way, so shout out Jordan. And I spent a lot of time at the beginning of the episode talking about how I teach drawing and how, my own education with drawing kind of informed everything that I do in my classroom. And I've gotten lots of emails about that saying, Tim, we need to hear more about this. Apparently, 4 minutes was not enough. And so we're going to dedicate this episode all to teaching drawing. And I can't think of anybody better to chat about that with me than Miss Jenn Russell, who is here now. Jen, how are you?
Good. I'm so excited to be here. How are you?
I'm doing great. As I just told you, I had some M&Ms for breakfast, which makes my life significantly better, and I'm doing well. So that's exciting. And I was thinking back to when you and I first started talking on Twitter, and I don't know if you remember this, but I think it was because you had a kid doing an incredible colored pencil drawing, and I was like, this is what I want my kids' work to look like. And so I messaged you. I'm like, this is great. How do you do this? So first of all, do you remember that?
Yes, I do. I talked about that with somebody and I was like, Tim literally DM'd me and has changed my life. They're like, really? I was like, yeah, really? Because I just, at that point, just was putting my kids' art out in the social media world just for my own personal, purposes and just so that they were out there. I didn't really think anybody was looking at it. And so it just validated what I was doing. And it was cool that someone thought it was cool. And yeah, so I that is a fond memory that I do have.
Okay. Fantastic. I'm glad to hear that. But I think it was great to connect with you because I think you and I teach drawing very similarly. And so we need to chat about all of that. Because that's what the people want to hear, apparently. So let's just start at the beginning. When you have intro kids come in, or when you have kids come to you for the first time who maybe don't have their skills developed, where do you start when it comes to drawing? Are you teaching techniques? Do you have simple lessons? Do you go somewhere else? Where does it begin for you?
For us, it begins, it's techniques. And we have a ridiculous schedule, and I will leave ridiculous as an open term. I don't know. Some people use it for good. Some people use it for bad. I don't know. You decide, world. But where we have semesters, and so a class is only 18 weeks for us instead of 36 like it is for most of the world. And so I always say, okay, the first 9 weeks are going to be drill and kill, and you might hate me, and that's okay. But you're going to see the difference in the second 9 weeks when I give you free choice of what you want to do, and the stuff that you didn't think you could do, magically, you can do. But guess why? It's because I told you how to do it, and you did it, and you followed instructions, and it paid off. So the first 9 weeks is definitely technique heavy. We do a lot of exercises. I do drawing boot camp, and it just builds and builds on that.
All right, so I do things very similarly, just a lot of exercises, a lot of drills, a lot of techniques. Like, here's how to shade really well. Here's how to make your shading smooth. Here's what line weight is. And, it's kind of boring. Like, it's not super exciting right at the beginning, but like you said, you just got to promise that payoff and say, guys, it'll all come together soon. I promise. Yes. And I think that really helps. But do you have a couple examples? Like, what are a couple drills that you do with your students, or can you talk about what boot camp looks like? Like, give us specifics on what you teach and how.
So the first thing that we do is every day we come in and we draw a hand. And the hand drawing, and it's 15 minutes. And depending on what your class is, if you have 7-8 classes a day, 15 minutes is a lot of time of your 45 minutes. Mm-hmm. So, it might be like you're working on gestures, so it's a lot faster, or you're trying to get them to sketch quicker, but for me, I have an hour and a half. And so 15 minutes is really a small amount of time in the span of an hour and a half. So, we do a 15-minute hand drawing, and, I show them mine. I didn't fully understand observational drawing until I was in college, and I was in college too. And so it was like junior, senior year, and I was forced to take a figure drawing class. And the first thing that we did was draw a hand. I was like, this is so stupid. Yeah. And then I realized that I had never actually looked at my own hands. It's a very weird thing, because you're like, oh, like for me, I'm like, I have like short, chunky fingers. Oh, okay. I don't want to look at that. Like, it's like looking at your face, but to a different degree. Right. So we do hand drawing every day. It focuses on observational drawing skills, and also the idea of looking at your subject and drawing, like that immediate, like turning of the head, like you're focused. Okay. Then you draw, or you're just focused on your subject. You don't need to look at your paper because it's right there. It's not moving. You're not doing anything. So we do that, and that's how we open up class. I turn down the lights. We have spotlights. I turn on the spotlights. It casts some pretty cool, shadows. Eventually, for the first, week and a half, I'm like, okay, I just need a contour drawing. And we go over contour drawing. We go over gesture drawing. We go over just all different types of line. And then we get into value. And now, okay, we're focused on value. So your hand drawing today needs to have, let's stipple this hand drawing today. And they're like, right? Because it's like, it takes forever. But some people so my kids really pick it up. Some are like, hey, I like to crosshatch. I'm like, cool. Crosshatching is on Wednesday, so wait your turn. I'm just kidding. But yeah, so they pick up all these different skills. They pick up on what they like, what they don't like, what they find useful. I don't let them use blending stumps until further along.
Oh, I want to talk about blending stumps. We'll save that, but go on.
Yeah, that really opens up my class. And then we do basic old school, value scales, shading of a sphere. And it's repetitious. So this isn't quite great. Do it again. And they're like, okay, I just did 2. Great. So now we're on 3. By the end of today, you're probably going to do a cool 8. I'm like, seriously? Yep. Let's, okay. So the next one, and they're like, how many do we have to do? I'm like, I don't know. And they're like, what do you mean you're not? I don't know until it looks good.
I was going to say until we get it right.
Right. Until it looks good. And I used to coach cheerleading, and a lot of them don't know that until that moment. They're like, why? And I'm like, well, you're not puking. So that's good. It's good. We're good. Yeah. So fun fact about me, guys. If you didn't catch that vibe. But so then I do boot camp, and that's a still life drawing, and that's after all the value exercises, and we do the same still life they just circle around my room. So they have to do a contour still life, then they have to do a full value still life, then they have to do a cross hatched, a stippling, and just a regular hatching. Some will go faster than others. So I usually bank 2 weeks for all of these things. And all of this is a major grade, and I do count them as different daily grades. Yeah. So that they are getting validated per the day, because if not, they're like, oh, no, I'm not going to participate today. It's all due on the 27th. It doesn't matter. So they do get a daily grade. And sometimes I feel spicy. So I'm like, oh, you know what? Today, this is a quiz grade. And they're like, oh my God. So it just, it just depends on the day, but they really get a sense for like viewfinders and how to use your pencil to measure and, what angle do you like? And once I see that they start to get comfortable in a certain angle or drawing certain items, I'm like, awesome. Today, you specifically are going to move over here. And they're like, that has the horse head that I don't want to draw. And I'm like, I know. You avoided in the last 3 drawings. I saw it. So that takes up a good chunk of my first 9 weeks. And they hate it, but
they do. But it's just kind of about, keeping kids motivated in different ways, whether that is daily grades or you being mean and giving quiz grades or whatever the case may be.
Right.
I don't have a lot to add, but I do want to share one exercise that I do when we're first beginning drawing, whatever the subject is. Like I've done this with hands, I've done it with shoes, I've done it with still life. But we do 15, 5, 2, 1. And so we do a drawing that takes 15 minutes, and then we draw that same subject in 5, and then we draw the same subject in 2 minutes, and then in 1 minute. And so that 15-minute drawing, like for everybody who likes to draw really quick, that forces them to slow down. And then by the time you get down to the 2 and the 1 minute drawings, like everybody who loves to take their time really needs to speed up. And it just kind of shows them how they can vary their drawings, like how you can capture details quickly versus, how you add so much detail and so much shading when you have more time. And so that's kind of a good lesson that I think works well to just show them the variety of what you can do.
These are like fun little things in like the boring tech, like quote unquote boring unit of like teaching technical drawing, right? So those are the fun little things to like, yay, spice it up. Like when we do blind contour and it's like so funny.
It's hilarious the first time you demonstrate it, like this is blind contour. Everybody laugh at, like I encourage kids to laugh at me.
I know.
And then, then they don't feel so bad about creating their own terrible drawings. But then like you just get tired of terrible drawings after a while. It's tough to keep going with that. So okay, so I wanted to ask you next about your favorite materials or favorite mediums to use. And I was going to say blending stumps for mine. So we need to talk about that in just a minute. But I'll go to you first. So like what are your favorite mediums, favorite materials to teach with?
And we are sticking to, obviously, drawing, right?
Yes.
Just regular drawing. I have been playing a lot recently with like graphite sticks.
Yes.
It's like the chunky.
That's a good answer.
Like graphite. I mean, I have this issue. I don't know if it's a Texas thing. We're going to blame it on Texas and also my personality. But I'm a massive drawer. Like physically, like my drawings are just huge. My handwriting is huge. I'm loud. Like it's just,
I was going to say it fits your personality.
I know, right? It's just big. Everything I draw is big. And my kids are always like, why is your whole face taking up the whole board? Like when I showed them like parts of the face, I'm like, I need the whole board. Okay. I need the whole board. I'm sorry. I'm not drawing a dinky drawing in the middle of your paper. I'm not doing it. So yeah, when I demo, I have to demo on like 18 by 24.
Mm-hmm.
So graphite sticks for me are great because I can cover so much, but also I draw really dark anyway, and I never have problems with like darker values. I always have trouble like picking up the pencil because I put so much of it on.
Yeah.
A lot of my kids are the opposite, where they're scared to add value and make it darker. So for me right now, graphite sticks are really where it's at. And I'm using Lyra, 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 and
I mean, we're on camera. This is
yeah.
terrible for a podcast. Yes, I got to show you. I have them sitting on my desk right now.
I love it.
Yes,
yeah,
they're amazing.
Yeah, I was like pointing. I was like, yeah, those guys. Like, if you guys can see, you can't see us, but yeah. So those, I love those, and it's just, I mean, the blending, and it's so smooth, and it's like I always talk about pencils being like creamy, and my kids are like, you're weird.
Yeah,
that's not a thing. I was like, yes, it is.
No, but then you're like, just draw with them. Just like, draw them.
You're gonna feel.
And then they do, and they're like, oh, I get it. I understand. Yeah. Yes,
I know. Yes, and they're like, right. Pencils are not creamy. I'm like, but they are though. If you just trust my judgment, which is why you signed up for this class. Trust me, they're creamy. They are smooth. It's like, yeah. And so graphite sticks are bomb.com for me.
Yeah, I love it. All right, so blending stumps for me, I think they're so spectacular. Like, so first you have to learn without them. Like,
Right.
you have to learn how to, just kind of smear with your finger. The super gross thing, I don't know if you do this. Like, my kids think I'm weird anyway, but if you just get a little bit of grease off your forehead or a little bit of grease
Yeah.
off of your nose, just take your fingertip and smear it on there, and then your graphite blends so beautifully. And the kids are like, I'm not doing that. I'm like, just try it. And I'm like, no, it's gross. I'm like, just try it. And then they do. And it's amazing. Plus, they're teenagers, so they have a lot of like oil on their forehead, like a never ending supply. And it makes the drawings look spectacular. But after we learn to do that, then I always go for the blending stumps because they are wonderful. And I also do lessons where we draw like crumbled pieces of paper or like crushed soda cans. And to get the shading inside of those little tiny areas, like, you really need to do them with blending stumps. So I guess that's a very long way of me asking you, like, why do you not let your kids use blending stumps?
I don't let them use them at first because they rely on blending sticks and blending stumps as if they had graphite themselves. So because they see that there's like a dark tip to it because it's been used, they're like, oh, I'm not going to add pencil. I'm just going to use this.
Just use
and
that
I'm like,
on its own.
That's not how it works. That's literally. And I actually just had an argument yesterday and they were like, well, I technically can't. I'm like, oh my gosh, technically, yes. You can, but eventually, I mean, really, if you want to be super technical about it, what you're doing is you're cleaning your blending stump. Every time you put it on the paper without graphite, without pencil on it, you're cleaning your blending stump. So that little tip that you're depending on is going to go away. And they're just like, well, I'm like, okay, well, whatever. And like, at that point, you just have to let them live and learn because I'm like, okay, you do you, boo, because I've already told you twice. A third time is not a thing that I practice a lot. But so then at the end of the class, he was like, okay, so I see what you're saying when you say I need pencil. I was like, pencil first. I'm not telling you not to use it, but you need pencil first. But he had a really light spot and he was like, it's like the lightest shade of gray. If I put any sort of pencil on it, it's going to like be too dark. And I mean, and my kids are just perfectionists anyway. So they're just trying to do their best to make it like the picture or like well, he's drawing a sculpture. So I'm like, well, that's a hard lesson you're gonna have to learn, bud, because I told you and you didn't take it. But yeah, so I keep them in my desk, like in my shelving area, and then dispense when they are ready.
Okay.
I mean, I also use it as a treat too. I'm like, well, if you guys get here, then you get to use the blending stumps. Yeah,
that's excellent motivation, to be honest.
I mean, at the end of the day, high schoolers are big kids.
Yeah, they really are. They really are. Okay, so you did mention really briefly your giant demo drawings, and that got me thinking. Like, how important are demos for you? Like, how often do you do them? What kinds of things do you demonstrate? Like, what role do demonstrations play in your classroom?
I demo a lot. I do not one big demo, but I have demo days and lesson days on Mondays. So because we're on 18 weeks, I try to give them as much time, like independent work time as possible. So how I structure my class is on Mondays, it's like full lecture breakdown. We're talking hour. Let's figure out what we're doing. This is what the project needs to look like. If you do have adjustments, because I typically let my kids make adjustments on their own, depending on their level, because I have mixed bags all the time.
Yeah.
And I demo, and I do one big demo at the front while I'm lecturing and explaining. And then I go, back in the day when you could have tables.
When you could get close to kids.
Yeah, when you can get close to kids and you can have tables. I go and I sit at the table and then I draw with the kids and I do like a small version of the project or of what I want them to do, usually 15 minutes. At each table, I have like 4 groups of tables. Right now, all my tables are separate. I'm looking at them.
Yeah.
It makes me kind of sad. But yeah, and so I demo in small groups. I do one big group demo with all of them, and then I go back and demo small groups because a lot of times I do have questions, but they don't like to ask them out loud, especially in art class for whatever reason, even though I'm like such a goob and whatever and weird and encouraging them of asking like questions, but they feel a lot better in like their own little pods and islands. So
I'm going to interrupt you really quickly here. Sorry, because I just want to throw in like one thing that always works for me is if I'm sitting down with kids, you know, and doing that project along with them, doing the drawing with them, then I just sort of do, I guess, what we call a think aloud, where you just talk about what you're seeing and what you're doing. Like, oh, that part is really difficult to draw, or, oh, I'm struggling with this. Here's how, you know, I'm going to work through it. Or, oh, did you guys have any difficulty with this part of it? And then that really opens up the conversation. If you kind of share your thoughts, then they can sort of chime in there, and it really breaks down whatever weird barrier that is that keeps them from asking questions. And I know that's always really helpful for me.
Yeah.
So, all right, cool. One last question here before we sort of wrap things up. After your 9 weeks of skill building are over and you start to transition into the big projects, like, what does that look like for you? Like, how do we turn the skills that we're developing into finished work that kids are excited about, kids are interested in, and things that they are making look good?
So the transitional project for me is their self-portrait, because it's the end of the things that they hate. And for whatever reason, they hate nothing more than their own face. Yeah. I'm like, you guys are so beautiful and lovely, and I just love the rainbow mixed bag that I get, right? And but they hate it. And so that is a transitional project, because drawing your face requires all of the skills that we've talked about. And you have to put those skills into play, or else your face is going to look. And this is the only case that I use a Picasso. I hate when my kids are like, I'm not Picasso, I can't do this. I'm like, you're not using that in the right term. You're not using it correctly. And so this is when I'm like, remember those times that you were like, you're not Picasso? Okay, we're going for like, not a hyper realistic portrait, but we're going for a realistic portrait here with value. Where I don't intro color until this moment, so that if they want to use color, they can. Yeah. I'm like, but okay, spatial awareness, like parts of the face, all of your value, observational skills, how far apart are your eyes, like how low, below your eyes is your nose, like let's look at all of the things, measure with your pencil. All of these skills are going to be in your portrait. Now, you have choice on how you tell me about yourself. So everything that you do in my class should tell me something about you. So this is a transitional project. You have skill, but you're also having some choice, and you're going to tell me something about you, or this portrait is a snapshot in who you are today, whether you are a sophomore, a junior, or a senior. What does that look like for you? But your face needs to be there somewhere. And then we talk about angles and all that stuff. But really, it's like marriage of the two, of like choice and the fun things that they think that they can do and they want to do, versus the skill that we have just practiced for a ridiculous amount of time.
Yes.
So,
yes. No, my transition lesson, as you call it, is similar, except we smash our faces up against the glass. We do smash face portraits. And so I have the kids smash up their face against the window, and then we take pictures of that, and they have a great time doing that. And then like the pressure's off to make like the proportions exact, or make the nose, exact. Like you're supposed to look kind of crazy because your face is smashed up against the glass.
I love that.
It's a good transition one, because like it's fun, but you can get a good finished product. And like you said, it's using all of the skills that we've been developing. So I think that's a good one. All right, Jen, we will wrap it up there. Thank you so much for chatting drawing with me. Always great to talk to you. And hopefully we can have you on again soon.
For sure.
Thanks to Jen for coming on and talking about all of that with me. Before we wrap up, just a quick read from the Art of Education University's Studio Drawing graduate course. Are you looking to simultaneously push the boundaries of your personal drawing practice while attaining new strategies for teaching drawing in the art room? If you answered yes, then this course is for you. Not only will this course help you grow in your own practice, but it will address and offer solutions for the challenges students face in the art room as they explore drawing as a skill. During this course, you will revisit your role as an artist and share your drawing evolution with the instructor and your peers while analyzing best practices for drawing instruction. Your journey will include visual journaling using a variety of media and skill development as you work toward creating a drawing portfolio. So if this conversation interests you, if this is a topic that you want to explore more, I cannot recommend the studio drawing class enough. It'll be a deep dive into a lot of the topics we talked about. Plus, you get to create a ton of your own art, which is a fantastic thing to be able to do, especially when you're working on your own professional development. If you're interested in studio drawing, new 8-week courses are beginning every single month from April all the way through August and beyond. We will link in the show notes, and you can find more details at theartofeducation.edu. Finally, I would love to hear from you. What other great ideas do you have for drawing? What are you doing in your classroom? What are your kids finding interesting? How are your students being successful? What did Jen and I miss? What else do we need to discuss on a future episode? Or what else do you want to know? I'm sure there is plenty more out there, and I'm curious to know where else this discussion could go, because helping kids discover and develop their talent with drawing gives everyone involved an amazing feeling, and I think that's something that we can always be working on. Art Ed Radio is produced by the Art of Education University with audio engineering from Michael Crocker. Thank you, as always, for listening, and we will see you next week.